Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the August 3rd, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update. If you watched SmackDown this week, you saw that Eva Marie's match was over before it started. If that booking decision doesn't prove that the new era has what's best in business in mind for us all, I don't know what will prove it to you. Number 5 story of the week is that a number of local talents got to participate in WWE programming this week. As you no doubt were aware, the Raw and SmackDown broadcast emanated from Atlanta and Nashville this week, and had a number of people who were familiar with the Carolinas independent scene who got to be on those shows. The most notable one will probably be Corey Hollis, who was involved with a match with Braun Strowman on Raw. Of course, Corey was not billed as Corey, he was billed as Evan Anderholm, I believe the name was. Interesting fact about that is that will be the third identity that Corey has had on WWE programming. Of course, he's appeared on NXT with his tag team partner John Skyler as Corey Hollis. He was, I believe, previously billed as Brian Kennedy whenever he and Skyler tagged against the Shining Stars here a number of weeks ago, and now he's had the Evan Anderholm persona as well. This one might have been the most funny of the three, seeing as how he gets to take his $1,000 check and go home, seeing as how he didn't defeat Braun Strowman. But also had an appearance by none other than Ariel Monroe. She had a match there with Nia Jax. Ariel is the romantic partner, we'll go ahead and say, of Cedric Alexander. The running joke now, of course, will be the fact that Ariel made it to Raw before Cedric did. Of course, he's probably going to be involved with the Cruiserweight division that's coming soon to the program, so she only beat him out by a couple of weeks, but hey, she still beat him. And also had a couple of guys who appeared as security personnel on the show there. Looked as though we had Logan Creed, Jimmy Rave, I believe the Beautiful Bald Besties might have been in there, and also Antron Brewer, who is the fireman. If you've been watching any of the product out of Grovetown, Georgia there with the good old promotion that's no longer there. But at any rate, great opportunities for these folks. Great opportunities for everybody involved, and there were some more on SmackDown, and both in terms of the on-air appearances and also from what we've heard, some dark matches as well. So good things happening continuously, seemingly, for a lot of the higher talent that are known throughout the Carolinas and Georgia. Couldn't think of a better way to continue their careers than by being involved with stuff like this, because it's getting them noticed. People say, oh, well, it's a squash match, or it's this, it's that. Guess what? They work for WWE. That means they're on their radar. So, more power to them. And definitely congratulations to all of them for being involved. Number 4 story of the week is that ZZ from Tough Enough and a number of other developmental talents has been released. The story goes that the past couple of days, this took place down in Florida. ZZ Lupe, or however you pronounce his last name, he's got one of those Cajun names, was terminated essentially for a number of reasons from what we've been able to gather, not the least of which was the fact that he just wasn't making progress in the program. He's had a number of matches. They seemingly have tried the best they can to make something out of ZZ, and it just wasn't going anywhere. So the determination was made to go ahead and let him go. ZZ, as you may remember, was a member of the cast of the last Tough Enough edition. The interesting thing about that is that the two people who won that particular contest, not much has been seen of them either, except for a couple of appearances on the live NXT tour there down around in Florida. Funny thing about NXT, if you weren't aware, is that they run the primary NXT loop, which is the people who are the champions and the people who are well known in that brand, and then you have the ones who are more or less isolated, almost run the indie style shows down in Florida, similar to what Florida Championship Wrestling used to do. But Lupe was gone, and there were two other names who were removed from the roster as well. They were Josh Woods and Thomas Kingdon. Woods was a promising amateur athlete. He had a background in combat sports. Not sure what the situation was with him in terms of why he was let go. The other name there, Thomas Kingdon, he was a professional bodybuilder prior to joining the developmental roster down there. We had seen a match of his that got passed around a couple of different sites. It was one of these things that it seemed to be someone got a hold of a feed that was internal to the developmental center, because it was him and some other bodybuilder type facing off against Biff Busick and Rich Swann in a tag team match. My personal opinion decided it didn't look like he had a whole lot to offer in that particular match. That was a number of months ago, though. He could have made progress. He could have regressed. You never know. He could have even been, prone to injuries. But the fact of the matter is, they've all been removed from the roster to make room for potentially some other folks to come on board. And that's what we're really looking forward to, because the fact of the matter is, developmental now is fully loaded with world-class athletes, not just wrestlers, but world-class athletes as a whole. So there's a lot of people who are deserving of spots down there who aren't, of course, signed to contracts. Hopefully this will make room for some of those guys to participate in the developmental program going forward. And the number 3 story of the week, fittingly enough, is that the announcement has been made regarding the 3rd season of Lucha Underground, and it will begin airing on September 7th of this year. There were some thoughts that this program was going to be held off until next year, possibly early 2017 or late 2016. However, since the season has already mostly been filmed and is finished in terms of production, to go ahead and start releasing those episodes quicker than anticipated. This is a good thing, in my opinion. The fact of the matter is that the business is hot right now. You've got a lot of people who are watching wrestling, a lot of people interested in this product especially, and there's no reason for them to hold off on it. If you've read any of the spoilers, you may have heard what goes on in this season. I've read them. I don't really care, because the fact that I'm going to watch the shows anyway, because reading spoilers and actually seeing the show are two different things, especially when you've got such a divide between the time frame of when these shows are taped and when they actually will come to air. There's been some things going on with some of the talent and whatnot that may change how this whole thing is perceived between here and there. So it's kind of crucial that they do get this out there in a timely fashion. But at any rate, it is coming. It is coming soon. It'll be next month. As we mentioned, the debut date is September the 7th. It's anticipated, I shouldn't say anticipated, seeing as I've already talked about sports, but for those of you who are not read the sports, it is anticipated that there'll be some changes this season in terms of the talent that are involved. One of the names that we know will be out there is Sami Callihan. He, of course, coming off of his NXT developmental run, been an active participant in a number of independent scenes. Was the PWX heavyweight champion there for a little bit as well. So he will be joining the roster and a number of others. So a lot to look forward to in the 3rd season of Lucha Underground, one of the best wrestling shows on TV right now, possibly if not the best in my opinion. Check it out when it comes back to the El Rey Network next month. Number 2 story of the week is what's to become of undrafted WWE talents. This is a situation that's gotten a lot of people's attention because of the fact that it is a part of a storyline that's ongoing. You have Heath Slater, who is roaming around, somewhat trying to find a job. There's even been some theories that he might start to accept some independent bookings to sort of further the idea that, hey, he doesn't have a contract. Of course, he does have a contract. It's just a matter of them determining where they want to finally stick him. The story was even continued this past week on programming to where you had Jinder Mahal return. Of course, Jinder Mahal was his cohort in the 3-man band, along with Drew Galloway there a number of months ago. It's interesting from the standpoint that they decided to let him be the flag bearer for this whole thing. I just don't know what they're going to do with it at this point. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on with him. However, there are a number of other talents that don't have a destination right now either. And I'll read off some names that are involved in this. You've got Luke Harper, both the Bella twins, Heath Slater, as we said there, Tyson Kidd, Tamina Snuka, Ryback, Emma, and also Rosa Mendez. The situation with Luke Harper is such that he could be returning later this month at SummerSlam. He's been coming off of a knee injury where he had a number of ligament damages to be repaired. He could be coming back, as I mentioned, around SummerSlam. The thought could be putting it to where he might be rejoining Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. Of course, he and Eric Rowan are already on the same brand, and it wouldn't make a whole lot of, it would make a lot of sense to have them back together. Because I think there's still much that can be done with the Wyatt family. They've been spinning the wheels with the creative process with those guys. That if they really push forward, you can have Bray become that big monster heel that he's always really been destined to be. But with the other names that are on there in that list that I mentioned, a lot of them are recovering from injury. Tamina Snuka, Tyson Kidd. Of course, the interesting name out of that list is Ryback. He's in something of a contract dispute with WWE. People don't really think he's going to be back with the company I don't think they'll be losing anything to not re-sign him, especially with the matter being that he's sort of come across demanding, and that's not a good way to get yourself back into the good graces of anyone within Titan Tower, but be that as it may. The other names that are interesting to look at from this perspective in terms of undrafted people are the part-timers. You've got people like Triple H, The Rock, The Undertaker. It bears mentioning that, they're out there. There are people who have competed in the past. There are people who will potentially compete again in the future. It's just one of those things that's a loose end that hasn't been cleared up. So we'll have to wait and see where these folks wind up. No real determination right now whatsoever with any of them. Heath Slater, I would imagine, would probably wind up on the SmackDown roster just because they're a little bit more thin. But here again, we have to wait and see what happens with these people who don't have homes on the WWE roster right now. And the number one story of the week is, could WWE be for sale? Well, the answer is a definitive maybe. There was a quarterly earnings meeting held here within the past week or so, and during the meeting, WWE CFO George Barrios was essentially asked, could the company be sold in a UFC-style transaction? Of course, UFC was sold here not too long ago for a ground-shattering, or earth-breaking, whatever you want to call it, $4 billion to a private media company. So this, of course, has been a hot topic for a lot of people who are investors in WWE. And Barrios, in the response to that question, basically said, as far as the private transaction look, as you know us, we are always willing to listen, and all we care about is doing what's best for our audience, for our shareholders, and for our employees. So if someone's got a great idea, we're open to listening to it. Oh, the thing about it is, it's one of those things where he says, okay, we're open to listening to it, but at the same time, yeah, you got to come across with some major bukus of money in order for that to even be appealing to anyone. And at this point in time, I don't think anyone is really stepping up to the plate. They could, though. You never know. There could be some random media conglomerate out there that says, hey, we got a couple of $1 billion we're not doing anything with. Let's go off and buy WWE. Why not? The funny thing in this discussion, of course, is that we've had so much talk about TNA being sold and TNA having investment issues and looking for investors, this, that, and the other. To have WWE here again try to eclipse them in terms of being talked about by holding up and saying, hey, sure, if you've got a thick enough checkbook and can parlay that into something we're interested in talking to you about, then sure, we'll talk. It's amazing to think that they would be sold. I can only imagine it would be a situation where the McMahons would maintain some level of interest or control in the company. I don't think that so long as Vince is alive, though, that it will happen, just because of the fact that this is Vince's company. Everything that runs through those doors is his ultimate decision. Doesn't matter if we're talking creative or who gets hired to dust the floors. It's all him. It really, truly is. But that's an interesting topic, though, an interesting look potentially to the future of the company in terms of what it could be in the ownership realm, maybe 5, 10, whoever knows how many years down the road. Also, in terms of things that are coming down the road, this weekend's lineup of events that are coming to you around the Carolinas and Georgia. Got a lot going on this weekend. Lots and lots of good opportunities for you to get out there and be a part of the independent professional wrestling scene in this part of the world. Let's go ahead and roll those posters. Be back in a few minutes to wrap up the show. there you have it, our rundown of the events that are coming your way this weekend. Do you want to take a special moment to point out 2 events that are on that docket? One being the Champions with Attitude show that'll be happening in Orangeburg this Saturday night. Orangeburg, South Carolina, that is. CWA is a long-term franchise in terms of the independent scene in the Carolinas. That will be their 12th anniversary show. 12 years they've been running consistently. It's a big thing because a lot of independents that you see don't last 12 months. A lot of them don't last 12 weeks. The fact that they've been running 12 years says a lot about the people behind the scenes. And, of course, there's been controversies in the past about those folks, but the fact remains they've been running 12 years, and that's a pretty significant thing. So definitely check them out. And also this weekend, and starting tomorrow, matter of fact, you have the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Legends Fan Fest. It's going to be taking place up in Charlotte at one of the hotels there. I believe it's the Hilton. But at any rate, definitely want to go check them out at nwalegends.com. That is a long-running festival. It's been around a couple of different cities. There was some speculation that it was going to be in South Carolina, so I'm a little miffed about that, the fact that it's in North Carolina and not South Carolina. But be that as it may, it is an opportunity for you to go and check out a lot of different events, a lot of different opportunities to meet with legends of this area and legends of the ring, period, because they bring in a lot of classic wrestling legends from not just the NWA era, but from WCW, WWF, whole 9 yards there. So definitely check them out. Again, that's running from tomorrow, August the 4th, through this Sunday, August the 7th. That said, if you're a wrestler, a promoter, or in some way involved with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your information in that chunk of the program that we just ran there, it's because of the fact that we didn't know about it. If you would like to have your information featured on the show here, please drop us a line. You can get in contact with us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, even here on YouTube, email, whole 9 yards. We'd love to be able to run your poster. We'd love to be able to have your stuff out there because a big part of what we do here on Rasslin with Redbeard is promoting the local scene and talent. A lot to get out there in a short amount of time. Also, if you enjoy the show, go ahead and please click that like button. If you really enjoy what we've got on the channel here, go ahead and click subscribe. That way you'll be the first to know of when we've added new content. Speaking of which, we just added a whole bunch of matches that were recorded this past weekend at Old School Championship Wrestling's event, Summer Heat Wave. Go ahead and check those out on the channel here. Browse around, see what else we've got to offer. Plenty of good things to check out here and there. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We'll see you next week.